Hello everybody, welcome to Bad Big Games, where we talk about all things games. I'm your host Joseph, and today we're going to be answering that one simple question. Should you be buying an Xbox One X this close to the end of the generation? So with all that said, with all that out of the way, Future Joe, start the show. So we're at the point where we're nearing the end of this generation. And it's weird because it kind of feels like it just started, but we're now starting to talk about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlet. So you might be wondering to yourself whether you just got a 4K TV or you are thinking about upgrading to a 4K TV. Should I upgrade to an Xbox One X? Should I be purchasing this $500 console if a new console is just around the corner? So today we're going to break this down into a few parts. We're going to talk about the design of the Xbox One X. We're going to talk about what you get if you're a 4K user, a 1080p user, and what you can experience on the Xbox ecosystem. So with that said, let's talk about design. And first, look around you. I'm not here to fool you. I've played most of this generation on my PlayStation 4. I prefer the PlayStation ecosystem over the Xbox One. I'm not here to fool you, but what I am here to say is, as a PlayStation owner, there's a huge joke that goes around, and that is that your PlayStation 4 sounds like a jet engine when you're playing a video game, especially if there's a lot of explosions on screen or a lot going on in that game. Your PlayStation tells you, holy crap, there's a lot going on. Even with the PlayStation 4 Pro, it's a loud console. With the Xbox One X, walking into this console, I was surprised about how silent this console is, whether it's playing 1080p content, whether that is playing 4K content. This thing barely makes a hiss, barely makes a sound. It handles everything seeming like a pro. And not only is it the slimmest Xbox in the line, it is also the quietest. And it's something that, when we're talking about design, needs to be noted of how silent this thing actually is. Because at the end of the day, this thing's gonna sit under your TV, and when you're playing a game, you don't want to be distracted about how the console looks or how the console sounds. And this thing does a great job of handling sound excellently. Okay, so enough about how silent this thing is. What about 4K content? Because we always hear how the Xbox One X is the most powerful console this generation. It blows everything else out of the water, and it definitely is, and it definitely does all those things. Now, the one misconception is that it plays every single game native at 4K 30 or 60 FPS. That's not the case. The Xbox One X still doesn't do native 4K on all games. There's actually a list in the description. You want to see all the games that does native 4K, or something called checkerboxed 4K, which means if you're playing a game, it doesn't do exactly 4K, it gets close, or it gets halfway there. It still looks better than 1080p though. And so yeah, some games will play native 4K. A lot of Xbox first party games will play native 4K and even 60 FPS, but don't expect that for every single game. Now, with that said though, games will look better on the Xbox One X than the PlayStation 4 Pro. If you're trying to compare the two, it looks better. It's not like a night and day. It's not like a generational leap. The Xbox One X is about 20 to 30% more powerful than the PlayStation 4 Pro, so you can expect games to look about 20 to 30% better on the Xbox One X than it does on the Pro. Now, the thing to mention, if you're a 4K user, the thing that impresses me the most, I don't know if it's with the HDR systems that they're using in the Xbox One is better than the PlayStation 4 Pro, but colors pop way more on the Xbox One X than it does on my PlayStation 4 Pro. And that's the thing I really notice. If you're playing a game like Fortnite where it's really colorful, it's about the green greens, the blue blues, the purples, that's gonna really pop more on screen than it would on a PlayStation 4 Pro. It looks a little duller. So that's the thing that I really like about the Xbox One X, is if you're playing a colorful game, even like Rage 2, a great example, where colors really pop, that's where you're gonna get the most out of this console when it comes to 4K quality. So if you're a 4K user, yeah, this is definitely worth it. If you have a 4K TV in your house that you can use your Xbox One X with, absolutely, go out to Best Buy, buy it right now. You don't need me anymore. But before you leave, like, share, subscribe. It just validated your opinion. Go for it. But if you're saying to me, Joe, I don't have a 4K TV, I just got a 1080p, or I'm looking to buy a 4K TV, just not yet. Then that gets a little bit harder, because what you're sacrificing visual fidelity for, that 4K, it makes up for stability. So if you're playing a game like, I don't know, like Resident Evil 2 Remake, where things gets a little foggy or a little misty, or some explosions happen on screen, what tends to happen is your frame rate drops, or your console's resolution drops, so that you get a smoother experience. With the Xbox One X, because it has all that horsepower, you're not going to see your games chug if there's a huge explosion on screen, or there's a whole lot of people in the environment with you. You're not going to notice that weird lag or those weird hiccups because of the horsepower behind the Xbox One X. And that doesn't just mean for current games as well. That also means for your OG titles and your Xbox 360 backwards compatible titles. They're all going to get resolution buffs as well. That's right. Your Xbox OG game, your Xbox 360 game, will get a resolution bump up to 1080p when you're playing it on your Xbox One X. Because of the built-in hardware, it's going to make those games have an extra layer of polish that they normally wouldn't have. And it's a great way of preserving game history, of making it a little bit more modern. It doesn't make your Xbox, OG game, whether it's like something like Halo Combat Evolved, it's not going to make it look like Halo 5 Guardians, but it's going to smooth out the edges. It's going to make the game have a little bit more polish to it visually, and that's something you can really respect out of Microsoft to do. So that's what you kind of get with the Xbox One X in terms of stability. But to mention this, you also get the same exact thing on the Xbox One S. It'll help run games better on the S. If you're upgrading from a normal VCR Xbox One, you're going to get the same visual fidelity. Also, what's similar to the Xbox One S to the X is it's also going to up-res those older titles to 1080p. Also, there's a Blu-ray disc drive on the Xbox One S is the same that's in the Xbox One X, so that you'll be running your 4K Blu-rays on an S that you can on your X. So that's where things kind of get a little bit muddied in terms of what the Xbox One X can actually give you, because the S isn't a slouch either, and that's their flagship console. So at the end of the day, you're going, okay, so I'm getting all this awesome tech. Sure, there is some things that get a little muddy. What about the ecosystem? And that's where, to me, Xbox is a hit and it's also a miss. I'm a PlayStation gamer. I love my God of War, my Uncharted, my Bloodborne. I can't get that on Xbox. That's something I'm going to have to live with. So what I would do if I'm looking to jump ship, or I'm looking at both consoles, I'm really looking at the catalog of games and really looking about what those games are offering me before I really make up my mind. Now, that's where, to me, Xbox is a bit of a miss. Their games just aren't speaking to me this generation. But the cool thing is Xbox Game Pass. And I kind of sounded like I was hurt there, like I was hurting someone. Xbox Game Pass is Microsoft's attempt at Netflix for video games, and it's the closest thing you're going to get. The base version being $9.99 will give you every single Xbox first-party game when it comes out, day and date of its release. So yeah, Gears of War might not be speaking to me the same way of Uncharted or God of War, but I'm still getting Gears, Halo, the next Forza, whatever Fable game's gonna happen, whatever first party game that Microsoft makes will be hitting that console for $9.99 every month. That's a tremendous freaking value. So yeah, there's really no harm, no foul of trying a game like Quantum Break, because if it doesn't speak to you, well, $10 is $10. So yeah, Xbox Game Pass is a terrific service that makes up for the fact that maybe their first party isn't speaking to you like it would on the competition side. So that's me trying to be as totally unbiased as I possibly can. So at the end of the day, you might be going, Joe, Xbox One X, it's $500. Scarlet is over the horizon. I can see it, sorta. Should I be buying an Xbox One X? Well, again, if you have a 4K set and you are in love with the ecosystem, you love the games, you're looking to upgrade, go ahead. buy it. If you have a 4K TV and you want the best visuals no matter what, go ahead, buy it. But if you have a 1080p set, if you're looking to buy a 4K TV in the future, that's where things get really hazy for me. That's where I would say hold off and instead buy an Xbox One S, because like I said earlier, a lot of that stability you're going to be getting with the S as well. You're still going to get your entertainment hub in terms of I can play 4K movies, whether it's streaming or physical. And yeah, I can still get my games up-res to 1080p on the S. I can buy my time with Game Pass while I wait for Xbox Scarlet to come out if I'm buying it at launch. So for me, it's kind of like a yes or no. If you have the tech already, go out and buy it. If you don't have a 4K TV yet, hold off, wait till Scarlet, because that thing's going to hopefully be a beast when it comes out. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Xbox One S and should you buy it in 2019. Those are my thoughts. I want to know yours down below. If you have any questions that need to be answered, let them down below. I will answer them to the best of my abilities. And so with all that said, with all that out of the way, if you like should you buy videos like these, news, unboxings, game reactions, all that jazz, then please hit like, share, subscribe. It helps me out, shows me that you care, builds this big, beautiful family that I call home, because here at Bad Bit Games, it's all about the conversation. So if you're into that, again, subscribe. It helps me out. And so with all that said, with all that out of the way, keep your wits about you and have a nice one.